Hello.
Wow.
Hello.
Kudos to Bree who made that intro. I feel like I've seen that Yeti in intros before, and now we're finally gonna cover the Yeti, right?
I know.
It's our outro video.
That's what it is. Yeah. Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
Usually I'm half in the bag
Yes.
when I'm seeing that, and I'm just like, yeah, all right, that was fun.
No, it's because whenever it starts to play, you leave. You close the whole
You're
computer
like,
screen down.
deuces.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of shit going on, you know me. I gotta ask you guys a question. Like, I feel like blue is a good color for the Himalayas, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, you know, when they they captured Big Bird and they put him in that cage and they dyed him blue and
No.
follow that bird.
They
Is
did
that before
that?
your time?
I'm
Waylon
literally
Jennings in that movie.
14.
But I feel
Before
like
their
that. I
time.
feel like blue Big Bird right now. So like I'm thinking maybe I might just go green.
If you go green, you kind of match with me. I'm like a green tealy kind of vibe.
Oh no, we need to have that. There we go. That's kind of a more purpley thing.
There we
I
go.
like
Sorry.
it.
Yeah.
You can see
Had to
it's
get that
blue.
out of the way. This is Bobby's Cryptid Corner. Welcome back to all the regulars. Per usual, we have Jamie to my left,
AKA Abominable Snowman.
That's funny.
and above Jamie we have
the
Game Warden,
Yes.
Tony Baloney. No, Tony No Baloney, the skeptical
No
Game
baloney.
Warden,
Ooh.
No baloney.
and then Goat.
Just I'm the same every time.
And I'll be your captain this episode, Snowman Boy. Snowman
Yay.
Boy will be my
Yeet,
name today. Let's do. Does anyone want to take early shout outs from me?
Yeah, I'll do it. I got it. Why don't we go ahead and say hi to Greg, who was the first one here right out of the bat.
It's a good Irish name.
Greg. Hides and Longgrass was also early, as always. We love to see
God
that.
bless Hides and Longgrass. I owe him a phone call. Sorry.
Enzo is running to his computer. Joe, as always, you gotta fucking Joe it up. Joe it up.
Sounds so weird when you do that. It sounds like
Hey,
you're
Sarah.
like snot. It's like
Who, me?
Wait, where's
Yeah, when you go like
Enzo?
this-
Is he here?
Oh,
Enzo's here.
he's running to his
on his
computer.
way.
Yeah.
Did he privately text you that?
No, he said that
in the
literally in the
chat.
chat. I put the comment up.
How did he? Oh, okay.
He was on his phone.
I'm such a
He was on his
boomer. I'm like, well,
phone.
how would you do that if you're on your computer? All right. Anyway.
Game wardens will do whatever the hell game wardens want to do. Welcome to the show, Down Jones Moeller.
That's a new one. Is that a new person?
No, not at all.
All right. Sorry.
That's okay.
Hi.
All right, so we're here to talk about the Yeti
Awkward.
today. We are super excited for it. So let's just dive right into it right now because it's going to be a long episode, I feel like.
Yes.
So strap in.
I was dying backstage during the video. I had just noticed Tony's shirt, and I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
there's a lot we need
I
to
hate
talk about.
Jerry, but it's also funny that she
I put Boomer and Jerry, yeah. And then I put a Bigfoot on Bobby's, of course.
First of all, we
Boomer
need
Jerry.
to talk about this fucking photo.
Okay.
All right.
One, KARI is posting on the Twitter, but can't
What?
be here.
Oh, Kari took a nap. Kari has to
Are
fly
you super
tomorrow.
busy, bro?
Kari has to leave.
First of
Mhm.
all, I remember the hate that I got for commenting on the show while I was in Peru.
That's
for
a different
not
story.
having first world internet access.
Listen, everyone has to be hazed around here. That's all we do.
Yeah,
Tony,
I'm
we need
amazing,
we need to
bro.
get into the Yeti now.
Okay, let's do that.
All right.
Geriatric? God, that is fucking so funny.
That was a good one. Okay.
Tony No Baloney with the calling out of Kari. All right.
All right.
Is that all we wanted to talk about with this
Yeah.
wonderful graphic? Okay.
Uh-huh.
And yes, this is the first time we're covering it. I saw in the chat, people are like, I thought they've done this before. No, haven't.
How I was
Nope.
just about to say, how are we well into the triple digits? I believe. Of,
Yes, we are.
Bobby's Cryptid Corner. I mean, we have a few kind of high tier iconic ones. We didn't blow our load early on
No. absolutely not.
with that stuff. We wanna save some of the very notable popular ones and kind of sprinkle them throughout the entire run of Bobby's Cryptid Corner. So tonight we're going to be covering the Yeti, If you don't know, I would probably say the Yeti. If you're not considering the Yeti the same as a Bigfoot, which I do not, we do not collectively on Bobby's Cryptid Corner. This is a different creature than the North American Bigfoot, though similar and easily confused. I would say that this is probably the second most famous cryptid.
sure.
Maybe Loch
For
Ness,
sure.
tied with Loch Ness.
Maybe,
Yo,
yeah.
I just realized I was drinking out of a Yeti. Ooh.
Ooh, meta.
We don't. I'll put it to you this way: we don't even have a sec. There's so much to get to with this. We don't even have a section on like pop cultural impact of the
Yeah, we
Yeti.
didn't
I
even-
think
yeah, we
I
didn't
think
even
we
get
all
there.
kind of know. Be a little preaching to the choir here. You got Yeti coolers. You got Yeti mugs. That's pretty much. You got the shoulder logo from the Colorado Avalanche. That's pretty much it, actually.
Hell yeah, I've got some dope coolers. Keep
This
shit
is not
frozen.
a friendly forest dwelling Bigfoot type, alluding to my earlier point in which I said this is not the same as a Bigfoot. Not to say that Bigfoots in general are not known to be aggressive, but the Yeti, I believe, is pretty much always known to be aggressive. They
Yeah,
are a
I think
wild.
anything ape-like is very aggressive.
Yes, I would argue in my research, I have concluded that they are more ape-like than man. But we will get into that a little more. Hence, again, not so much the North American Bigfoot, but definitely a connection there. High risk, do not engage. Here are your physical attributes of the Yeti. Similar to the Bigfoot, somewhere around 8 to 11 feet tall. There's certain versions of it within the folklore, though, of the area where it's reported to be as high as 20 feet tall. But I think that's referring to kind of a more ethereal, spiritual version of this thing. Bree, you were about to say something?
I'm just processing what that would look like if I came across something like 20 feet fucking tall. I think I would probably piss myself in my snow boots.
Yeah, so let's think about it. A 2-story house is about what? Is about 20 feet,
16,
more or
Yeah.
less.
16 feet. Yeah.
16 to 20.
Okay, so
yeah. Vaulted ceilings, maybe.
so add 4 feet to that. You got a 20-foot wild beast
okay.
man in the snow. Contrary to popular belief in depictions that we see all the time, we just think of it. We hear Abominable Snowman, which, by the way, the Yeti is the Abominable Snowman. We think white. We think that it's a white guy. It's not a white guy. It's a brown guy or a red guy or a black-haired guy. Fur, covered in fur, brown, red, or black. The reason it's kind of often depicted as white is obviously because of the snow, the snowman. He lives in the snow, or she lives in the snow.
Just
what I'm
covered
trying
in
to say
snow,
here.
probably.
He's just covered in snow. Is everything okay over there? Whoa. Let's not get ahead of
Sorry.
ourselves here. We got bipedal ape-like sharp teeth are often reported. I like to refer to him as a beefy strong boy or a
I love
coney head
that.
monkey guy.
I need
I
a
like
big
that too.
boy.
If anyone wants to write a nerdcore hip hop song called Beefy Strong Boy, Coney Head Monkey Guy, that would be awesome.
It reminds me of, like, obviously you guys know I go to Disneyland a lot. So the Matterhorn, and it has which is about the Abominable Snowman. And there's that cool part where he's like, rah, and he like jumps at
Wait,
you.
is that that's Disneyland?
Disneyland is the Matterhorn, but the better one is if you go to Florida, to the United Kingdom. There's Mount Everest ride, and that one, I'm sure a lot of you guys have gone. So cool.
I think that's the last roller coaster I've ever been on.
Oh, and it's like the best roller
Matterhorn?
coaster. And no, Everest.
I've never been on
And
any of them.
Gotcha.
Even if the line is long, the entire way is full of like news articles and what looks like to be artifacts, and basically tells the entire story.
Ooh.
And then it's a really great roller coaster. Like,
Yeah, it's badass.
It's
literally the only reason to go to Animal Kingdom, to be honest.
I agree.
Ooh,
100%.
It's the only reason to go.
I went to all the parks.
But there's
that was a roller
animals.
coaster. I was like, I need that one. I need that here in California.
There's not really
Really
animals.
awesome.
I mean, there are animals, Tony, but that's not really the focal point of Animal Kingdom. Like you could go to one of those local like safari ride things, that's in every small dipshit town. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, because there's one like 15 miles away from
Yeah,
me.
there you go. I knew you would know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
It's like that. Like that's as much as the animal experience you're going to get at the Animal Kingdom. However, as Bree said, the Yeti Himalayas roller coaster. I don't know what it's called. Like that
It's called
thing
Everest.
is real
Yeah,
badass.
it's called Everest. It's really cool. I mean, it feels like you're like there for a second, just learning the history. I was like, oh, this is awesome.
I remember I was standing in line for that ride. And one of the guys in front of me was wearing a T-shirt from the band Journey,
Ooh.
and on the back of his T-shirt was the lyrics to that song everyone likes.
Don't stop.
Yeah, that one.
Believing.
And I said to myself, if that's not the most Norman Rockwell Disney World experience, I don't know what is.
You guys
Sounds
know
very
I've
white boy.
never been to Disney World, never been to Universal Studios, never been to any of it.
Have you been outside of Kansas?
Yeah, you know I've been outside of Kansas.
Yeah, he went to like Peru.
I've
He
been
was
to
like in the army.
Oh,
and
yeah,
all
Some
that's
over.
right.
army.
Japan, Korea, South America, Cuba.
Ooh, you're so cool.
Speaking of international, I'm going to go from Mexico to
Ooh.
wherever Heineken's from. All right, here we
Ooh.
go.
Germany.
I think it's Danish, maybe. I don't know. That's Holland. It's from Holland.
We'll just say
Holland.
Holland.
Yeah,
Okay,
Disney World is crappy though. Don't worry about it.
let's
All right.
get into kind of the habitat and location. This is a beautiful picture of the Himalayan mountains, which is in Nepal. Go to the next slide, please. This is the location of the Yeti, the southwestern border of China and India and Pakistan.
He
China.
said China.
China. Tibet, Nepal region of the Himalayas is probably what is most known as being the location of the Yeti. However, there are multiple subspecies or versions of the bipedal ape-like giant man creature of the East. I mean, you got the Alma in Russia. There's all kinds of them throughout. This is not exclusive. I guess my point is this is not exclusively obviously a North American phenomenon.
Phenomena.
Phenomena.
And it's definitely worth noting that the Yeti probably is. No, it is. It definitely is. It is the oldest Bigfoot-like cryptid creature on record. We have accounts dating back to as early as the 6th century BC. And a little later, Bree's going to get into like kind of the local folklore and mythologies and spiritual side of things with the natives, right? Can we call them Can we still call them natives? If they're
Yes, they're still native to the land. Natives.
They're native to the land. Yes. Okay. But we got to talk about this is a very early account from, I guess, more or less a kind of a Westerner's perspective. In 1832, this is referred to as the Hodgson account because it was published in James Princip's Journal of the Asiatic Society of Bengal. Say that 5 times fast. And it's a published account by B.H. Hodgson, who was kind of a adventurer, I guess. He trekked through northern Nepal. And he describes seeing a large bipedal creature covered in hair. And at the time, he believed it was an orangutan, right? But this, I lost my place on my notes here. Hold on. So I don't know what this first sentence really means, especially the first part of it, but I don't have any context here because I don't have the original document, but it's religion has introduced the Bandar, a native monkey, into the central region. Tony, did you ever come across the Bandar in your research?
Yes, a little bit, but there's nothing scientific to back it up.
Interesting. Okay. The Bondar into the central region, where it seems to flourish, half domesticated in the neighborhood of temples. Interesting. We'll get into that a little bit later. In the populous valley of Nepal proper. So it's almost like these things are like hybrid domesticated, like helper monkeys. I don't know. It's crazy.
Very weird.
My shooters were once alarmed in the Kachar by the apparition of a wild man, possibly an orang. I think that's just slang for orangutan. They shortened it because he's from the streets. But I doubt their accuracy. See, given the context of the time, and granted, these people are adventurers, you only have so much of a Rolodex in your own brain without having the internet or even access to like the Dewey Decimal System or encyclopedias. You're going to affiliate any kind of monkey creature with an orangutan because that's what you know. You know what I mean? They mistook the creature for a cacodemon or rakashas, which I guess is slang for demons because, again, he's from the streets, and fled from it instead of shooting it. Probably smart. Tony, Game Warden Tony, what is your thoughts on fleeing from a monkey demon versus shooting it?
Well, one of the things I want to bring up is
Tony's been drinking, by the way.
Yes, I have. But one of the things that
just started
during my research in this while sober, so that drunk Tony will talk about what sober Tony has read.
Oh, a little teaser.
A teaser there.
Oh,
Because otherwise I just don't talk. I ignore it.
Okay, well let's just take a hypothetical, not drunk Tony. Let's just move outside of the concept of this particular instance and just say you're walking in the woods, you're armed, you see a demon monkey.
Mm-hmm.
How do you engage with it or do you flee? What would you recommend?
Never run from a wild animal, especially a wild animal bigger than you.
Oh yeah. Oof.
Bigger animals, you would be surprised because I've done this way more than I should have ever done. The bigger the animal, if you're smaller and will be willing to smack it in the face or hit it, they just like something resets their brain where they go, yeah, I can eat you too. Why are you hitting me?
All right. I don't know if that answered my question or not, but we can move on.
They can't process that. Just
hit it. Just hit it in the face.
Yeah.
Hit it.
I'm going to pretend like you said, stay still, assess the situation, back away slowly, and hope and don't make eye contact. In the event that it does charge you, it might be smart to shoot it.
No, make eye contact, punch it in the nose, shoot it in the face.
Is that what you're supposed to do? Like if you see a bear, you're supposed to act bigger than it and be like,
you're supposed to make it really big. Like you're supposed to make yourself big and loud. Like
only if it's a black bear, and we're gonna get into that.
Let me throw an addendum into this situation because this guy says it moved. They said erectly. It moved erectly. Does that change your reaction to Demon Monkey?
Yes. And we're going to get into Gigantopithecus.
Okay. Okay. So. Again, covered in long dark hair and had no tail. I don't know if you guys know this, but an ape, and it's like a square and a rectangle. An ape. Wait, a monkey is an ape, but an ape's not necessarily a monkey, right?
Right.
Huh.
Did I just make that up?
No, I think you're right.
And a tail is a sure sign of a monkey, whereas something like a gorilla is an ape.
Yes.
Yeah, right? There's lots of
classifications.
There's lots of classifications like that in the animal kingdom.
Think Dr. Zaius, Zira,
Dr. Zaius.
You're full of shit.
The gorilla warriors from Planet of the Apes. Those are all apes. Think about Planet of the Apes if you want to know what an ape is. All right, we can go to the next one, I think. I, however, am stone cold sober as opposed to
I think everybody's
Say
sober.
Tony,
Me
Tony
too.
Neboloni.
Say my name.
You can't talk about the Yeti without talking about the first man known to hunt the Yeti. This is Sir Edmund Hillary.
How rude.
He's one of the first gentlemen in 1953, and in general, just in any time, that climbed the 29,000-foot peak of
Jesus.
Mount Everest
And he
with
lived.
a Sherpa. See, I don't necessarily want to open this box, Bree. But when we say he's the first man to climb Everest, are we not including the local native Sherpas that perhaps had done that for centuries before?
Ooh, like, do they not count because they're from the area?
Yeah, I might.
Yeah, because
I'm
I feel like
feeding the
there's
woke speculations.
there's probably tons of
Oh,
natives who have climbed it.
My woke regulations over here.
No
Probably.
speculations. No, I'm just saying, like, I'd be curious to know that. Like, it's like, okay, he had a Sherpa with him. It's like, his name's Tenzing Norgay. I think that's him there on the right in the photo. It's like, well,
Tenzing
if that
Norgay.
guy went with him, that seems, I think, like maybe some other Sherpas have hit the top of Everest before Whitey came along. You know what I'm
Then
saying?
they should count.
Yeah.
I think if the native people have gone up there and they've made it, then they should count. Right?
Word. I agree.
They're people. Jeez.
Edmund Hillary is a Kiwi. He was born in New Zealand, learned how to traverse and climb mountains in that native country, served as a pilot in World War II, et cetera, et cetera. He did become fascinated with the Yeti as accounts of the region because he was familiar with the region. You know, you're going to hear about these types of creatures, and this curiosity about this identity of this abominable snowman kind of inspired his search. Can we go to the next slide, please? We have accounts of footprints in the snow, in the mud, found to indicate this is a very, if you look at every like book I checked out of the elementary school library about cryptids had this photo on the right, this photo of the
Is that Bill Nye the Science Guy over there?
no, that's Sir Alec Guinness. Wait, what's his name? Sir Edmund Hillary.
I like Guinness.
Hillary.
So in 1952, him and his partner are said to have found hair on a high pass in the mountains related to the Yeti. In 1953, Yeti tracks were found by Hillary in the Barranquilla range, and I definitely pronounced that correct, by the way. Yeah. Drink if we mispronounce anything is the drinking games on this episode.
I'm gonna have to refilm.
I'm not entirely sure what this photo, which exact one the photo is of, but the next year, members of his team discovered more Yeti tracks in the Chaoyang Valley. And this is where we get into how the Sherpas would kind of describe a variety of types of Yetis. So there's one called the Nyalmo. Nyalmo. I'm going to go with Nyalmo.
Drink.
Okay. And this is native to north central Nepal, and this is the giant size one that's up to 20 feet tall. Again, think of a 2-story house, a Yeti the size of a house.
I'm gonna decline.
Man like Harry,
that.
and given to shaking giant pine trees in trials of strength, while other Nyalmos sit around and clap their hands. So they're like they're a fun bunch of Yetis, giant Yetis. They like to have tree shaking competitions, I guess. So this is the guy. This is the guy that like kind of, I don't want to say put the Yeti into like, I guess the modern Western like psyche, I guess, if that makes sense. You'll see articles about him and his trip to Everest, like all over National Geographic and stuff there. And then always eventually goes into the Abominable Snowman and his famous pursuit in the latter part of his life. So now
I see 5 toes.
he did come across this scalp we see on the left, him holding. We'll wait till Tony's done blowing his nose, and he's going to tell us all about this scalp.
My allergies are killing me today. So we're going to talk about this scalp. This is actually a really weird story.
Loving
So it originates in March 1954. A publication called the Daily Mail printed an article that described this expedition that went all the way out into what we now call the Himalayas, and they found a scalp. But this scalp was part
Oh.
so the scalp was actually under lock and key from the who are the people that are out there? The weird yep. Not quite Chinese, not quite Tibetans.
What?
But they're out there. None of those countries exist.
The Nepalese.
The Nepalese. So, unfortunately, what happened, what Bobby was talking about with the expedition out there to retrieve the scientific samples from the scalp, didn't go quite as well as these monks hoped it would have. So
If I were the monks, I wouldn't have agreed to let them touch or investigate the scalp. And
not if you
granted,
knew where it was coming from.
I just want to point out, I believe, don't quote me on this, I believe there's multiple scalps. There's like more than just this one.
Right.
Right.
Yes. And the research consisted of taking micro photographs of the hairs and comparing them with the hairs from known animals, such as what would be in the area. So bears and orangutans. And Jones concluded the hairs were not actually from a scalp. And then he was like, you know what? You guys made this all up. So this is talking about the scalp is kind of like a double-edged sword, because there's people who take this very seriously, like this is real. They found this scalp, and then when science comes in and says, well, there's bear and there's orangutan and other animals, cow, and there's no animal in the books where you have this ridge like this over the scalp that this does, it makes it really hard to authenticate something as it being real, because it's most likely not.
Ooh.
Mm.
Don't
Wah,
sci-fi it
wah.
already.
Not the story, just this, because
Womp.
we see this with like we see this with like little aliens in shit
Oh, yeah.
from Egypt and stuff.
This guy's like the Stephen Greer of the Yeti.
Ooh,
Yeah.
burn.
Burn.
Damn, how
I'm
much
not
does that
saying
cost?
the Yeti doesn't exist. I'm just saying that this could easily be explained, and the biggest problem that we have is that these places will not allow them to do DNA testing, and that would solve all of the problems. Just do
Well,
DNA
I
testing.
think the mentality is like, we don't really, the locals don't give a shit. They're just like, fuck you and your science. Like, this is our religious relic. This is
Right.
we're not.
Right.
Like, I don't know if it's a conscious effort to like conceal the truth that it's a hoax. Like, I think these people are just like not interested in hearing some sort of a Westerner's analysis of this.
Right.
Is just me speculating.
Yeah, so they don't care. Like if they came back and said, well, this is 2 shoulders of an ox sewn together and presented as a scalp,
Huh.
they
effort.
don't give a shit about that. But the problem is the Western society, who is like, this is definite proof of a Yeti. And that's who we are trying to talk to.
That's who we're representing here tonight on Bobby's Cryptid Corner.
Yeah.
So,
Was that the story?
yeah, Tony, is that it? Is that the scalp
That's
story?
it. Yeah, that's
Look at all the money in the back. They're just
So
like,
it turns out the scalp had been fashioned from the hide of an animal, most likely a goat, antelope, native to the Himalayas. Um,
Yeah.
as Kumujo Chumbi, the monk who was charged with watching over the scalp on its round-the-world voyage, told the Guardian newspaper at the time, "We don't believe in giraffes and lions in Nepal because there aren't any there. Likewise, you don't believe in Yetis because you have none in your country." And I think that's
ooh,
pretty profound, to be honest with you.
yeah.
It's a fair
Piss
point.
off.
It's a fair
Piss
point.
off. Yeah, I like that. That makes sense. Alrighty. I just want to know how much money they throw at the scalp. It seems special.
You probably it's like a wishing well. You throw a quarter, $1. It's good luck. Yeah.
I mean, hold on. If we can actually
Can I have
look
a
at this
nickel for
work,
the monkey scalp, please?
that is
I'd
very
like to
well
make a wish.
preserved. That is very well preserved. Like, if you were to skin our heads and just hold on to it, would it stay in that fantastic condition?
Maybe.
Maybe if they
'Cause I
I mean,
preserved
you
it,
can
like
you
if
can
you
dry out. You can dry it out like
Yeah.
it's beef jerky, you know, and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
graft
But
it
it's
on
like
a piece of.
intact to the skin.
I mean-
to the actual scalp skin.
Well, yeah, they
Yeah, it's
actually
probably-
they make it with like they stuff animals taxidermy, and that's like the skin, and that
Yeah,
stays
but
the same.
they tan the skin for taxidermy.
Yeah, you
would
tan it
salt
and you
this.
dry it and you shape it.
Mm-hmm.
You
Stuff
know,
it.
this is
Stuff it
red
up.
state shit. We're talking about Bree, so
Yeah,
let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah. Just what we do to
Just
animals
so
down
I can
here.
say at least one dumb comment of the episode.
Go for it.
When you guys said tan it, I was like, why would you tan it? Like you
Like
put
she-
it out and
You put it in a tanning bed and give it
Yes.
And
skin
sun,
cancer,
yeah.
and then it solidifies.
Dry it out. The
How
sun's
I-
beautiful rays make it
I
dry.
think that's just a weave right there. That's a full-on weft. You just
Literally-
This will be fun. This will be fun. Tony, can you describe what tanning is to Bree?
Yeah, go for it.
How am I supposed to know this? You guys think I skin
Okay.
animals on the side? Come on.
Tanning animal hide or
Yeah.
Yes, we know
Scalp.
what the other kind of tanning is, and so does
Scalp.
Bree.
Scalp
So-
hide.
oh my god. So you have to pull all the fur. Oh my god. So
Maybe we
skinning an
forget
animal,
this. It's fine.
skinning an animal is not pleasant, Bree. I'll
I
tell
was
you
like,
this
yeah, I don't.
because I've done it and I don't like it.
Okay.
But
Why else do we
So-
have Tony here if we can't ask him these kind of questions?
yeah.
That's true.
You are the game
So-
warden.
You skin the animal, you stretch its skin out, you have to pull all the fibrous.
Can I stop you right there? Personal privilege. So tanning is just a word for skinning it, preparing it.
No, you pull.
No, he's
all
getting
the,
there.
You pull all the fur off of it.
Can't you just say what it is without going through the steps, maybe?
No,
No, because
Because
tanning
that's-
is literally a process. Like
Yeah,
that he's
it's a process.
it's a whole thing. Like it's not
I'm
just
really
one
glad
thing
I
that you're doing.
Just say
Threw
it's a
this
process.
log on the
Got it.
fire.
Okay, all right, next.
Got it. It's a
All right,
process.
let's go to the next thing.
It's not pleasant. It really isn't pleasant.
It's an
I like the
unpleasant
text on this
process.
one. It's very easily readable.
Is
Bree
it?
wrote this.
Oh, yes. So we're getting into our native lore, the natives. Again, that's Himalayan folklore, Tibetan folklore, all the areas we touched on earlier in the episode. In Tibetan, the Yeti also went by Mete. Mete. So I actually have one of those like shortcut things on my phone and my computer. When I type meh, it automatically goes to the little guy whose hands are like this. And it's like,
It doesn't go to an abominable snowman.
so when I first wrote this, it kept doing this and then the
Oh.
dash te. And I was like, stop. They're going to be like, what is this? Anyway,
The emoji
Uh,
autocorrect is fucking racist.
Yes,
I mean,
it
it's
is.
not an emoji. It's like with the little dashes and the little guys you can make. Anyway.
Yeah, that's an emoji.
No, it's really okay. So the origin of the word Yeti itself is from the Sherpas, and they have been using that term since before it was ever in written writing. It was the Yeti, the spoken Yeti. And it's been a big part of their belief system for the Sherpas and for the Tibetan myth altogether, all of their creation myths. So it was also, or it has been believed that there are mummified Yeti remains that are still preserved in remote areas in Tibetan monasteries.
Were they tanned?
They didn't.
Okay.
That part wasn't in the
Okay.
research I came
Okay.
across, or else I would have known what tanned was.
No, Tony, no one's interested anymore.
No,
That
Tony, no.
moment's gone.
What is very interesting about this to me is, I wonder if I can zoom in for you guys. Ooh, I can. Love a MacBook. The second Yeti here looks like they're eating a person. The
They're
fuck
just
is that?
holding them up. They're just
That's a
trying to
vibe.
get them over the stairs.
What? That's a bit aggressive. There seems to be different versions of the Yeti, but overall, I believe in the Himalaya region, really centered, is mostly that the Yeti is a friend, an ancestor, a comrade. So this to me is interesting to see. It's weird titties flying about
Oh,
and
yeah.
then to be eating another human.
Look at those sacred nips.
Those are something else I've never seen before, I have to say.
Nipples or nipples?
They
Okay.
kind of look like the whale penis that we thought was the
Shaped like door
Loch Ness
stoppers.
monster.
So the original story of how it is now believed that there are these mummified Yetis in different areas of Tibet comes from an older story of when the Dalai Lama and Lama Lopen escaped Tibet after Chinese occupied the territory. They escaped to India. In that time frame, they came across.
I knew it was coming. Joe 5D. I knew that was coming.
What?
Flying saucer nips.
No. Yeah.
That they came across in these secretly hidden catacombs in Western Tibet. They came across a very well preserved Yeti, supposedly. So when Lama Lopen returned with the Dalai Lama, that was the story that they told people, that they came across them in the catacombs. And so there are multiple scrolls that have then since been found in the different monasteries, claiming that the Yeti is a being, if you will, between an animal and a human. And they are the children of, long ago, a Tibetan girl and a large ape who mated. And the children were then the Yeti. The Yeti were bodyguards of Dolma, who is the female incarnation of Chenrezig. Of course, that's not right. But it's Chenrezig.
This is the Buddha of compassion and the incarnation as the monkey god.
Yes. So,
I got it. I got it. Sorry, go ahead.
The Chenrezig are supposed to be where the Tibetans came from. The Tibetans are the descendants of the Chenrezig. Like you said, the Buddha of compassion.
I got to say, this is very reminiscent of a lot of the human hybrid theories about the Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. Even some of the hair samples, I believe it's the really famous one, the Melba Ketchum stuff that they tested a few years back that has some interesting what's the word? It's not great. It's not a great situation, but the point is the results came back as a hybrid,
which makes sense.
Some sort of human hybrid, and this is very similar to this Yeti origin story. Bree, go ahead. What do you got?
I was just going to say that I think it makes perfect sense for it to happen this way, because let's just say if we go with the original creation story for humans, where our evolution took us from literally apes to humans, and obviously there have been different split offs of different hominins, and where we were, how, you know, at one point we flourished a little bit and then it died off. We mated with another fucking group and then they came around. So it's like, it makes
Yeah.
sense to think that there could be maybe a hominin and farther down in their evolutionary series to then come across one that is not so much, that is still an ape-like, and they mate.
Well, aren't you kind of
Or
talking like the missing link?
even
Well,
I mean,
it could be
realistically, we're kind of
multiple.
we're missing that. What we're talking about here is that missing link,
I don't
where
think
it's like, yeah,
so.
because like
the
the
missing
hybrid,
link is like more or less like fallacy at this point, because it all branches off. It's not like the evolutionary staircase that you see of like the chimp and then
That's
the
true.
Neanderthal.
We're like,
You know what I mean? It's more like a
Mhm.
tree. But I understand what you're saying. Like, is this some sort of like lost humanoid hominid creature that, you know,
Exactly.
was a result of hybrids? Or you could even take like the Book of Enoch, Genesis 6 approach, where like a lot of people think like Bigfoots are like Nephilim from the
Mhm.
Bible,
Which
or
is
like some
this
sort
is
of
really describing
biblical
that
beast.
story.
Like
Yeah.
the daughters, like they mated with the daughters of man and created
great
these. I
point,
don't know.
Jamie.
You know
It
what I
kind
mean?
of is the
There's some of
same
that stuff there
story.
too.
It totally is the same story, actually.
Literally, just different. You're
It's-
putting, it's like we have this, I think, a lot with cryptids, history, in religion, and all sorts of things. It's like the same thing with the flood. It's like everybody just has this different version. The structure of the
Mhm.
story is the same, but they're just plugging in different people or
Cultural
things.
contexts and
Exactly.
Yep. It's all
yeah.
true. It's all true.
And this is definitely one of those stranger versions, considering this monkey god
I mean, it's
at
called a
first it
god, for
is,
Christ's sake.
yes, but is Buddha
No pun intended.
incarnation. So that's interesting. So anywho, the story goes that this monkey god married a demon. He mated with this demon, and they birthed 6 children, and they all had long hair with a tail. Red hair, also human faces, but red, weird, like red monkey faces. Reminds me of a little bit of like a baboon, maybe.
Mm. That's
And
the ginger gene.
and over
Mhm.
time, again,
Monkeys.
like with
Oh
evolution,
yeah.
over time, they lost their tails and started to evolve to be more human-like, in which that then became the Tibetan people. But not all fully went through the evolution process. Some of them stayed the same, and they considered them to be the wild people. This cut off, but they called them my regard.
This is
My
all
regard.
like super similar to native lore of the North American Bigfoot. Like the natives, like, no, it's just another like brand of people that lives out in
Yeah.
the woods a little differently from the way we do.
Yeah,
That's
my
crazy.
god translates to Yeti. So it's like some of the children over time went through their evolution and became humans. Others did not, and they stayed a Yeti, because it's like with all children, or you know, with any type of like anytime you reproduce, really. Some people take on the dad's genes, some people take on mom's genes. So
Some
some of them
people
are gonna
participate.
progress.
Some
So it's
people
like
participate
dominant
in
genes.
Anunnaki gene editing, and some do not.
Correct.
From the planet X.
Yeah, you're just
Nibiru.
describing evolution. The strongest genes are surviving. The things that are the most useful are the things that are getting passed on, and it's just literally genetics and how it works. And so, eventually, over time, the weird, like these different offshoots of it, are going to start to disappear because maybe people aren't, or maybe other Yetis aren't mating with that Yeti because it's short and fat and not attractive. So that's why you have, all sorts of different things. It's literal genetics.
But you have to ask yourself, was this some kind of genetic manipulation from
Exactly.
the gods
Now-
or extraterrestrials?
You could take this as a literal story, but at the same time, this demon is actually basically the land of all Himalayas in general. it's mapped out to look kind of like a woman laying. And then these 6 children that they gave birth to ended up being the 6 different Tibetan clans on that land. This is a ancient
Aren't there
artist
6 tribes of
depiction.
Israel? That's interesting.
Ooh, look at us. God damn it. Are we some forbidden archaeologists or what?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
So this is
Highly qualified.
This looks a little bit like Santa in a snow globe to me from afar. But yeah, so they'd be hiding up in the caves and doing the thing. It is very interesting because while I was doing the research for this and writing it on here, I didn't make the same connections that you guys that we're talking about now.
That's why we do this, baby.
And then and like now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, this is absolutely this sort of the same creation story as like everything. It's kind of weird. Well, I guess it's not weird. It's normal these days, right?
Thanks for coming to our Eastern cryptid class tonight.
This is
Thanks for coming to our TED Talk.
Yes. All right. So where does this all get connected? Well, 350 years ago, there is a story of Sangwa Dorsh and his bestie, the Yeti. So now Lama Sangwa Dorsh.
The Dalai Lama himself.
He is now, for the Buddhists that really practice that deep meditation, like monk in solitude, ultimate devotion, Sangwa Dorsh is like the top. That's who you want to embody. He's basically like, you could take him as like a saint, like something that they achieve, want to be like. And so this story is of him, Sangwa Dorsh, who is now the founder of the oldest monastery there in Nepal. He basically lived in a cave, and this cave it looked directly at Everest. And so this is like the main story where all like Everest and all this is tied into. He's hiding out in this cave, and a Yeti comes to him every day and takes care of him. He feeds him, he like gives him food, helps him with like shelter to keep warm. They become very close, and eventually the Yeti actually
they get married.
One of his disciples. And so this is kind of like an image of them basically meditating together.
They have best friend necklaces and bracelets.
So I have a question. You guys are like all new agey California gals.
Sure.
Do y'all practice like very intense meditations?
No.
I do meditations.
I mean, could you go into a meditative K-hole or whatever it's called and like ask to speak with the monkey demons?
I don't see why not. I don't see why not. I think that meditation is probably your easiest avenue.
I'm going to do this as an experiment. I'm going to get really, really into transcendental meditation specifically.
Let me tell you a story.
Specifically to try to contact monkey people.
So it's interesting. When I was in high school and I started to learn about transcendentalism, that's how I found meditation. And when I started doing deep meditations is when a whole bunch of contact things kicked off for me. I would easily go into a very trance state in meditation. I literally would be like, show me my spirit guides, or like, do I have any astral connections? I've seen beings. I've seen what I felt like is myself in a different form. I mean, I've seen a lot, and I'm not like, this sounds crazy, but it's happened. I don't really do that. I don't have time for that shit right now, but anywho.
Let me ask you guys this. Like, if you look at the, what's his name? David Huggins stuff, the guy that like paints like the Love and Saucers guy. You know what I'm talking about?
Red-headed aliens with the titties out.
With the titties out.
The big titty alien girlfriend he has and all that. He always talks about like a little hairy guy. He calls it the little hairy guy. And in his paintings, you can see it too. So I'm just wondering if like there's a connection with like all these alien archetypes. You'll hear reports of like these like monkey people as well, and then you get the whole like UFO, Bigfoot correlations and all that stuff. Like it all seems very connected. Like I would argue, like it's like almost like what we talk about with the paranormal side of North American Bigfoot. It's like, yeah, they're interdimensional. They're like ethereal. They're not really fully physical. They have these abilities beyond what the modern human is able to do, and I'm seeing the exact same things with these motifs in the Yeti.
For sure, hardcore. There's always been that strange connection, and I think that's why people always get split into camps of like, is this just an animal we haven't been able to identify, or is this something so much more mystical than that, or maybe even something that connects to us in an ancestral way? There's so many different like offshoots of where it can go and connections that it has to kind of lead you in all those different directions.
I'll say this: I'm on the fence about this stuff, just generally speaking. But if I were to come out and say, I believe the Bigfoot or the Yeti is real, when I say that, what I'm talking about is not only do I believe it's real, it also can do some wild, like paranormal, interdimensional shit too. You know.
Love that.
So I did the hardcore stupid.
Tony's back.
I did the hardcore stupid when I was in high school. I had a Ouija board.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Are
Did you
there
summon a
Yetis
Yeti?
here? It says ARG.
My name's Carl.
ARG.
No,
It's
I
asking
put
for beef jerky.
I put a pentagram on the Ouija board from my own blood, just to see what would happen.
Can we do a whole episode just on this?
Love
And
that.
it was a very, very fucking bad night.
Yeah, that shit's real. Don't fuck with it. I'm gonna pray for you real hard.
Oh, I did.
Pray for you. We're gonna meditate for you too. I'm gonna pull out my beads. Okay, so just to get back to the story, okay?
Yeah.
So the Yeti becomes his bestie. He's now a disciple. They're up on the mountain just like meditating every day. He lived out his entire life with him in that cave. And then when the Yeti passed, Sanguadosh held on to his scalp and his hand. Good keepings? I do not know. Where the remains are still supposed to be there in Nepal at the monastery that he founded in the year of 1667.
They both enjoyed frequent beard kisses.
Yeah.
So this is the one that Tony had. This is the alleged cone head from Nepal at the monastery and the hand. I don't know. It looks a little bit like a rock.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that they, through the investigation, they said it kind of mixed with like an ox shoulder or like a cow shoulder being sewn together, and then
Yeah, I'm just thinking to myself, let's just say there are multiple scalps, right? Because that seems to be kind of like the story here.
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Why the scalps? Like what made them think, oh, I should scalp this fool?
I assume it's cultural, maybe.
I
Like,
assume
maybe
it's
a cultural
fake.
thing. Yeah,
I mean,
it's fake.
it's
yeah,
it's
but it's
real.
like maybe it's a cultural thing. It's like, oh, the scalp, we'll keep that. I don't know.
Well, that's
Oh,
where the whole
Hawkzilla, that's
thing
just
of
inappropriate.
really where the whole thing of
ah.
you can't.
Wait, a hand job and a blow job? Maybe it wasn't just the scalp he held on to.
All right,
Oh
now
my
it's
God.
disrespectful.
I'm sorry. He pointed it out. And now I'm going there. I'm like, oh,
Well,
shit.
I like to use those sparingly now. It's nice.
The biggest problem is that when you have physical evidence and you're not willing to give it up to scientific investigation, that's kind of a really big red flag.
However,
Yeah.
there are instances where people do give their evidence, you
Like
know,
Stephen
and
Greer,
it
Star
just
Child.
it disappears. I
Oh,
mean,
Yeah,
Stephen
but
Greer.
that happens to a
this
lot of people, even like with MUFON. That's why some people don't like MUFON, because they've given MUFON
because MUFON works for the U.S. government.
and then it disappears. And I also think that there has to be a certain part of science that has to maintain their narrative. I do believe that there must have been instances out there where certain, hair follicles or something like that have been tested, and there's a shitty response back just because it doesn't fit in the timeline of who or what they are.
Yeah, but
So, at
Bree,
what point do
you
you
have to.
protect yourself and you protect what you believe in, and I mean, the thousands of years which this has stood, you have to like weigh out your pros and cons,
Yeah, but at what point does some old ass skeleton matter for
because this is
modern civilization? Because
Buddhist history.
for Buddhists it matters, but for the average person, they don't fucking care about
Oh
that.
my God, what an American take.
That's an American hot take right there. No one else gives a
That's a
fuck.
very Western take. Shut the fuck up, Jamie. That is a very
Okay, boomer.
that is that is how the entire Western world views the world. They don't care if there was a civilization that existed uh, thousands of years before our civilization existed. All they care about is what is happening right now and how they can make more money.
Which is
And
exactly why
Pizza
you
Hut's
don't hand
Pizzone
them.
is back.
It is. It's
That's
not
why you
very
don't
good though.
hand them anything.
Is it back?
It is.
I would, of course, love for there to be proof, but I think if I knew what could possibly happen, it could possibly get lost. I mean, no, I would rather say, you know what? Let them think what they want to think from us not wanting to test it. It not only saves the integrity of our religious beliefs, but it also holds on to the actual artifact itself.
I think what we're all getting at here is like everything is incentive based. Like people are just going to subscribe to what's in their own best interest of like,
Right.
well, this side of the coin has believed this narrative for eons, so that benefits us in various ways. It has a lot of compounded clout in our culture, whereas this other side of the coin is like, well, if we accept what this side is saying, that's going to conflict with this other compounded clout and influence and legacy from our culture. So we're just going to go ahead and like call it a wash and just everyone believe what they want to believe.
Oh gosh, it's just awful. I feel like I'm missing a slide.
All right.
I
mean,
think
it is awful, but
I mean, and then also it's worth noting like the I guess the big takeaway with Bree's whole section is like the Yeti serves as like a symbol of the local culture, right? There's are you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna throw in that I'm missing a slide. I don't know what happened to it, but it is about the Mani Bakabam.
Why don't you tell us about that? We'll just look at this slide while you do it.
The Mani Kabam was an important 12th century religious text, chronicle text in Tibet, and it went full on into the relationship of the Yeti and the Sherpa peoples there, and basically said that the Yeti is not just a hybrid being or something that's in between animal and human, but that they themselves are living in this weird liminal space. They're again like a trans-dimensional being, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And goes all into that and how they're keepers, they're protectors, they're all of these other things. And so I think that's interesting to have that kind of belief written in a text, 12th century, that's not then a new age idea to think that the Yeti, the Bigfoot, any of these types of beings could be transdimensional. This isn't something we're like just pulling out of our ass. I mean, it's in the 12th century. I think that's interesting to think about, that it's in a text from that long ago. We're not just like throwing ideas out there, you know?
Because they're
Oh, yeah, and then so after the scalp in the hand and the monastery being founded, they then celebrated this Yeti and would use the scalp in the hand in fertility rituals. And yeah, they would do really strange things, like say that they had Yeti's blood and put them in potions and things like that, and it was like magical Yeti's blood. So somehow the scalp in the hand became mixed with fertility things, and the blood of it being fertility, or I mean being vital for life. It's kind of interesting. It's like kind of connects, I guess, if you think of them as being ancestral and a part of the creation story, and then using the blood to then impregnate yourself or whatnot. But it's really interesting how this one person has the hand and a scalp, and now the blood is being used in potions.
good.
There's a whole crazy story with Jimmy Stewart in that hand, and we don't have time to get into it. Maybe another time. But look it
But
up one day.
I'm super glad that we have put this in the exact same category as somebody having tiger blood or something else, because that's what just happened. You just put it in the exact same category as tiger bone, tiger blood, like snorting tiger bones.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I don't think so. So, like, it was the people that sustained the monastery after he passed, of course, and then he founded the monastery. This tribe then would do these parades with the, so it's yes for fertility purposes, but then they would also do these parades where they would like throw the scalp around, like.
All right, now can I get a hate crime, please?
Is that a hate crime?
Yeah, hate crime.
Well, okay.
We're
So
playing California rules tonight.
to bless the people and bless the animals and bless the houses. It was like a blessing, you know?
Are we talking about? Never mind.
All right, let's move on to the next part of the show. The modern accounts.
Oh my
Jamie's going to take
God.
the reins on this one.
Alrighty.
Where did this
When
come
it's-
from?
I made
When
this.
it's-
This is
Sorry.
my child. So
No,
we're starting
this
off
is him.
strong with Lieutenant Colonel Charles Howard Bury, and this is in Tibet in the 1920s. And he was the leader of the 1921 Everest Reconnaissance Expedition. And he saw something strange when he was at about 21,000 feet. We know from his diary notes that it was September 22nd, 1921, and it read, "We distinguished hare and fox tracks, but one mark, like that of a human foot, was the most puzzling. The coolies, which are natives, assured me that it was the track of a wild, hairy man, and that these men were occasionally to be found in the wildest and most inaccessible mountains."
Mm.
Give me the next one, B.
Sounds like a pretty typical Yeti account.
Next, we have in the 1950s, we have Colonel John Hunt.
Colonel. It's fucking Colonel. Come on.
Okay, I don't know how to read.
Jesus Christ.
Just like
I didn't even know it was
Colonel
Colonel. I thought it was
Colonel.
Colonel
Chris
Sanders.
Colonel
Sorry.
John Hunt, and he was also a famous
R.
climber. And he wrote a book, The Ascent of Everest, and in it he described an interesting encounter that happened just after he reached the base camp at the monastery that was there. And this is what reads in the book. "That afternoon, we paid our first official visit to the monastery at the invitation of the monks. There was a simple ceremony to perform on arrival, the laying of scarfs on the thrones of the present abbot, as he, a young boy, was away in Tibet. Coached in this formality by Tenzing, I also presented to the acting abbot our expedition flag. We were briefly shown around the sanctuary. After a meal, we were served in an upper room, seated with Charles and Tenzing beside our host. He was a round figure robed in faded red. I questioned him about the Yeti, better known as the Abominable Snowman. The old dignitary at once warmed to the subject. Peering out the window onto the meadow where our tents were pitched, he gave the most graphic description of the Yeti that had appeared from the summoning thickets a few years back in winter, when the snow lay on the ground. The beast, looping along sometime on his hind legs and sometimes on all fours, stood about 5 feet high and was covered in gray hair, a description which he heard from another eyewitness. Obviously, the guests of Abbott were reliving a slight imprinted on his memory as he stared across the scene of this event. The Yeti had stopped to scratch. The old monk gave a good imitation, but went on longer than he needed to make his point. It had picked up snow, played with it, made a few grunts.
Was it Tony?
Yeah, right. And again, gave us a convincing rendering. The inhabitants of the monastery had meanwhile worked themselves into a great state of excitement, and instructions were given to drive off the unwelcome visitor. Conch shells were blown along with traditional horn sounds, and the Yeti disappeared into the bush.
He said it was like 5 feet tall.
Only 5 feet. Yeah.
I'm going to say that was just one of the wild people.
Maybe it was a juvenile.
It's not.
All right, give me the next slide.
Tony, are you all right over there? You struggle bus?
Tony,
Yes.
are you having a stroke right now?
A little bit of a stroke.
You need some water, darling.
He's been drinking
Yeah,
water.
plenty
I've
of
been
water.
watching him.
All right, so next we have 1951 sighting. We have Eric Shipton, and this is a direct quote from him. It was on one of the glaciers of the Men-Lung Basin at the height of about 1,900 feet. This is, again, on Everest. That late one afternoon, we came across those curious footprints in the snow, the report of which has caused a certain amount of public interest in Britain. We did not follow them further than was convenient, a mile or so, for we were carrying heavy loads at the time. And besides, we had reached a particularly interesting stage in the exploration of the basin. I have in the past found many sets of these curious footprints and I've tried to follow them, but I've always lost them in the moraine or the rocks at the side of the glacier. These particular ones seem to be very fresh, probably not more than 24 hours old. When Murray and Bourdillon followed us a few days later, the tracks had almost obliterated by melting. Sen Tenzing, who had no doubt whatever that the creatures, for there had been at least 2, that had made these tracks were Yetis or wild men. And he told me that years before he had a number of Sherpas that have seen one of the distance of about 25 yards. He described it as half man and half beast, standing about 5 to 6 feet, with a tall, pointed head, its body covered in a reddish-brown hair, but with a hairless face. He, no doubt, left it to its sincerity. Later, adding about the prints, it showed 3 toes and a broad thumb to the side. What was particularly interesting was that these tracks crossed a crevasse. One could only see quite clearly where the creatures had jumped and used its toes to secure the purchase of the snow on the other side. We followed the tracks for more than a mile down the glacier before we got on to too much covered ice. So go to the next slide and you'll see more of the pictures that they took. Bam.
That guy is a vibe.
So that
though,
I
his
showed that
look.
picture earlier in the presentation. I guess that wasn't that one dude.
Yeah, no, this was
Okay.
these guys. And so what's also interesting about this is like these photos and the story was kind of lost for a long time. And then they were found all in this nice little packet. And then they were sold at auction for like $50,000. The original ones.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Can I also say though, like his foot is wide. Like I would have imagined it being a little bit longer too.
Yeah,
It's
go back.
Stubby.
Go back one so you could see the footprint one bigger. So he was saying it had 3 toes and one big one out to the side. So that's like this particular why we're seeing this looking so different.
Is that
Look
a
at that.
hair?
It's a hair. They
Oh,
should have
that's
took
the
it.
hair.
Wow.
Yeah,
A
but
white
there's
one and a brown
clearly
one.
4 toes in this.
There's no fucking 4 tones, Tony.
There,
1,
yes, there are 4.
2,
Two,
3,
three.
4, 5. You guys don't
No.
see this right here?
I don't think
I
that's a
do.
toe. I think that's one just
That's a
giant toe.
I'm on Team Bree.
So
Are you
we just
fucking
said-
serious? That is
we
an
just-
obvious
Are you
toe.
fucking serious?
There's
We're
definitely
just-
5 toes in this.
There's
God damn
solid
it.
5
He
toes.
specifically said there was 3.
Fact or
It
sci-fi.
showed 3
5 toes.
toes and a broad thumb to the side.
There's at
What
least
the hell is
4.
that?
Maybe if
I
the toe
see
got
at
messed
least-
up,
No,
he
the
stuck it on
broad-
a rock.
The broad thumb is the big toe, which is your
Yeah.
thumb toe, I think.
All the way to the
We
right.
call it
Yeah,
the thumb
yeah.
toe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that he has opium in that pipe. It's
Probably.
not just tobacco.
All right, right.
Yeah.
Skip ahead to the next one, please. One more. There you
Yeah, that
go.
would be a funky looking 4th toe. Brie, I'm
All
with
right.
you.
So this one we
This
have
guy's a fucking
Dan.
moron.
Don. We have Don Wallahans.
Can't even count.
And this is Nepal, 1970. And he saw strange footprints near his camp. At his temporary base camp, he found and photographed, and later that night, he watched an ape-like creature through binoculars in bright moonlight for 20 minutes. Don was quoted as saying that the beast was bounding along on all fours. He headed straight up the slope, and in the absolute bright moonlight, it looked like an ape. I don't think it was a bear. In the morning, he said his stash of Mars bars were missing.
Mars bars?
Yes.
Mars?
His Mars bars were
bars.
missing from his camp. Yes.
That's such a 1970s chocolate bar to choose.
It
to
really
take
is.
the
Oh, I didn't know what you were
Himalayas
talking
with you.
about.
Yeah. He also, the pictures that he apparently took. of
Ever
the
heard of
footprints-
whatchamacallit, you fucking moron?
Yes. The
No.
pictures that he took of the footprints, no one has ever seen. And somebody was reported to walk up to him and ask him about it, and he just winked at them and walked away. So take that for what you will.
That good old.
He's quoted as saying this: "I'm convinced that the locals believe that the Yeti does not exist and that it's some kind of sacred animal in which it's best to be left alone. And if you don't bother it, it will not bother you."
Oh, respect.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I gotta say that's seems to be the mentality with the Bigfoot as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, give me the next in.
God. And I have something to add when I'm
Oof.
done.
Oh, the beautiful
Oh,
Josh
excuse
Gates.
me,
He's
is
so
that
attractive.
Condensed.
You're what was called a chubby chaser.
I am.
Yes.
And what's funny
he's
about
right
it
on the
is
cusp of like
is
bear
Corey's
and
not
otter.
really a chubby. He's not really chubby.
You know,
He
so
got a little
this
belly,
is the
but
thing.
he's not chubby.
I have tried
You still like bellies. At
repeatedly
least you got
to
a little
get
bit.
Josh Gates to acknowledge the fact that we exist.
Oh, I'd love that.
And
I love
none
Josh
I'll tweet this
you
picture of him. He's so
motherfuckers-
handsome.
I'm gay for Gates.
He's so handsome. Yes, so handsome. All right. So Joshua Gates and his team in Nepal in 2007 reported finding a series of footprints in Everest region of the Nepal resembling descriptions of the Yeti. And what you see right here on the screen is the actual casting of that footprint that he took. Each footprint
That's
measured in 13 inches in length with 5 toes, and it measured 9.8 inches across. Casts were made and they were examined by Jeffrey Meldrum of Idaho State University, who believed them to be a morphological accurate or to the who believed them to be morphologically accurate to be fake or man-made. So like it was either 100% man-made or 100% real. Like it was either one of those things, this guy decided. And then later in 2009 on the TV show, Gates presented hair samples to a forensic analyst, and it concluded that the hair contained an unknown DNA sequence.
Well, what?
Fuck. That makes me more gay for Gates.
But of course they like left it on that cliffhanger. Like that was the end of the episode. It was like, ooh, there's something unknown here. And then of course there's never been any follow-up. It's,
TV.
over 10 years later.
Sounds very fake.
Damn,
That guy
because that's not
that guy
how the
basically
show is.
lives my most coveted life.
No, I agree. Same.
Why do they have to
You're-
dress like Indiana Jones with?
Because it's like
Or
that's the
just
TV
Why the
thing.
fuck wouldn't
Yeah.
you?
Yeah,
Two Sigilus necklaces and
If I could wear a fedora and people wouldn't make fun of me, I would.
Yeah, I'd make fun of you.
I look
Nerd.
cute.
we
Yes, I'll
would
take it.
on the show.
Yeah, but
All
I was
right.
like a punk rock rude boy at one time. So
But
it's
But
just
why
cool
is
then.
the foot a marijuana?
It's not because it's like all the
It's
dirt
not-
and stuff that was stuck
You
to
just
the
see weed
casting.
everywhere, Bree.
Yeah, Brie, Jesus. Calm down, you fiend. All right, give me the next one. So this is the most recent famous sighting, which is in 2019, and it's an Indian Army mountaineering An Indian Army mountaineering expedition team has
Yikes.
cited mysterious footprints of a mystical beast, the Yeti, measuring 32 by 15 inches, close to the Malaku base camp on April 9, 2019. The elusive snowman has only been sighted at the Melaku Baran National Park in the past. And this was like a national thing that they came out with. They were like, it wasn't like they kept it secret. They were like, holy shit, look what we found. We want to tell everybody about it. So they made this huge announcement about it in 2019 that they were investigating it. Mm-hmm. All right, BB. What?
I have a. Oh wait, what's next? I have something to add to this.
Oh, go for it.
Hold on.
Not that we agree, but I will say of all
Oh
of the
God,
things
is this
that
about
I watched-
abortion?
No.
No.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
But so what I was going
Now
to
that's
say
an
is
abominable.
those footprints
Oh,
that are
God.
going from right to left. That's a tall motherfucker.
I was gonna say that in all the things that I watch, one part of the Yeti story that is always mentioned as an account is fucking Dyatlov Pass.
Oh, you know what?
Yep.
I was gonna say, so
We did that show.
I didn't put it inside the slideshow because I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I can't go over this shit again.
Not
Like,
again.
That's a
we've done
whole
DLF
episode
Pass
in and of
5
itself that you guys
We've-
have done.
We've done it
That'd be
100 times.
That would have
You
been
were
the
there.
fourth
Fourth.
time.
Next
we
week
would
we'll
have
do
done
time.
part
it.
5.
The
Yeah,
fourth time.
part
Yeah, so I didn't
five.
put it in there, but good
Yeah.
for mentioning it. I put it out of my brain because I didn't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I didn't either. Which I'm like, I'll just mention it. Yes, the story of Dyatlov Pass
To
is
be fair,
included
we
in
should
that.
probably do a part 2.
No, absolutely not. We've done 4 shows on it. 4.
Part
What?
5.
Hey, let's limit the post-production conversations, please.
Yeah, next one.
Anyway,
All right, so
I'm just throwing it in there so everyone knows.
next, I have accumulated some Bigfoot videos for you guys, so please enjoy and tell me what you think.
I love this footage so much, and I think it's real. I'm gonna already fact it before we even play it. I've watched this so many times.
Have you really?
It's got to be real.
Oh shit. Okay.
Это видео доказательства существования Йети краеведам на днях принесли
Wait, are
местные
you guys
жители.
hearing the?
Правда, ценности в нем специалисты не нашли. Уж слишком герой ролика похож на человека. Кстати, эксперты не исключают, что легенду о небывалой активности Йети могли придумать владельцы туристического бизнеса и таким образом привлечь клиентов. Понимая, что в этом случае важна каждая деталь, фото и видео
Bree, what are
отчетами
they
не
saying?
ограничились. Прямо на месте приготовили гипсовый раствор
First,
и
you
сделали
pack the burrito
слепок.
like
Рост
this.
того, кто оставил этот след, под
Then you
2
add
метра,
some
а
snow.
вес не меньше
They
200
work at
килограммов.
Chipotle.
Ярко
Touch it
выраженная
softly.
обратная плоскостопие.
Add the
Вот оно.
beans. The beans will
Пятка
solidify.
продавленная мощнее. Большой
Then
палец,
abort the
он
baby.
им как бы
What?
корректирует движение.
Длилось несколько дней, спасатели решили после того, как на пульт диспетчера поступили сразу несколько звонков от туристов и местных жителей. Все они говорили о том, что видели снежного человека. Это видео доказательства существования
Should I
Йети
turn off
краеведам
the,
на днях принесли
like-
местные жители. Правда, ценности
not
в нем
the video I thought it
специалисты
was,
не
by the
нашли. Уж слишком герой ролика похож на
I can't
человека.
hear her.
Кстати, эксперты не исключают, что легенду о небывалой активности Йети могли придумать владельцы
you can turn off the sound
туристического
if you want.
бизнеса и таким
do I
образом
do that?
привлечь.
I have no idea. Well, it's
Yeah.
over anyway, so it's fine.
So, I hope we have the video. If we don't, Bobby, can you drop it in the private chat for us to look up and play?
What video?
The one you said you were like, I've watched this
I'm
video
trying
a
to find it
thousand
right
times.
now. Yeah.
All right, so
This
this
one
one
is really good.
this is a dash cam one, and don't worry because the next slide is a zoomed in version of the video. If you want to watch, we're gonna watch like a zoomed in. Just watch.
Oh, God, that makes me love mashed potatoes. But
Just wait. Go to the next one. Go to the next slide. We'll watch the zoomed in version.
yeah, I've seen this.
Ooh, play it again, B.
Oh, God.
Did you see it?
Right there.
It's interesting that
There it
people
is.
would just be like, that's a Yeti. That's literally like, could be anything. What?
I mean, but it's walking upright, and that's very interesting. That's very obvious.
could be someone that was just raped and killed.
I don't know about that.
They can't walk if they've been killed.
It takes like 2
They're
steps and
about to
crosses
die.
the
Tony.
entire
They're not dead
road.
yet. They're not dead yet.
All right.
Hold on, I'm gonna watch the other one.
I was like, any
Here,
other
I got it
thoughts
for you.
on
I got it
this?
for you. Here it comes. Here it comes.
O'Reilly's.
Oh.
I just wanted to watch it this way really quick.
Go for it. Now that you saw the zoomed in version, yeah.
Just comparing it to the trees to see
What
if
is this? A Sherpa on his snowmobile?
No, it's just like a guy in his dash cam.
Snow machine.
Did you not see the zoomed in version? You have to show the zoomed in version again for Bibby. Oh, okay.
I've seen it. I've seen it. That could be anything.
I'm gonna say ghost, if anything, or fucking.
All right, let's
It's a
show
fucking ghost.
Bree, will you pull up Bobby's other thing before you play my last
Now
one?
this is footage from Russia, I believe, which is more or less kind of in the region, I guess.
Same area. The last one
Known
was
as
from
the
Tibet.
Alma. There's very little like context or anything behind this, but I really like this footage for some reason.
Ooh,
I think it's fucking dope.
Hold
get
on.
bad.
Okay, now you guys can see. Do we need the music?
No.
No.
Should have said, do we need the copyright? We have so many.
You should make it full screen, Bree.
Oh, yes.
There you go.
Oh, yes, yes. Somewhere in Russia.
Yes.
Mm.
Oh, Jesus.
I wasn't planning it to be like that.
Oh my
Bree
God, this
needs to
build
bed.
up. Yeah, Jesus.
Not too much.
I don't want to read. I want to see Bigfoots.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Look at that thing.
Wait, I missed it already.
No, it's
Right
still
there.
gone.
Oh, shit. That's Bat Squatch. Let's just jump in.
Slew down.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
A bear.
That's not a fucking bear. Do you see its arms? Jesus Christ.
You see my fucking arms? Jesus Christ. That a bear can move like that.
That is a fucking Bigfoot.
That's a Bigfoot. I wouldn't say that's a
Tony,
Yeti.
This is the first time I would ever think to be afraid.
Is it?
Really?
I mean,
the first time.
if that's like a real, let's just pretend that he's looking at a real thing with giant arms that's jumping like it's ready to stomp skulls. Excuse me, Mr. Bigfoot.
Excuse me,
Mr. Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Subscribe for more great cryptid content to Bobby's Cryptid Corner.
Thank you.
All right, go back to mine. I have one last video for you all.
Uh-oh. Hold on.
Oh no, what'd you do?
I hate this kind of shit. I saw this earlier.
What did you see?
Oh no, not this one. This one.
Well, the polar vortex is responsible for this, but I swear I just saw
Anytime you have a blah blah
us
blah
in the
blah
road up
guy.
there. What the hell is that? Holy crap! It's a Yeti, and he's throwing snowballs at me. Back off, beast! I got a gun under my seat.
Is that Will Elizondo
Now I'm
talking?
gonna use it.
Sounds like it.
I'm hit. Oh no! I wasn't able to retrieve it.
This is government footage of the Yeti.
Just for my like,
Like, this is on fucking
Be
CNN.
shitting me! I just got carjacked by a friggin' Yeti! My liability insurance ain't gonna cover this shit! Damn it!
I love the effort. TikTok.
yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
It's
It's
legit.
hard.
All right,
All right,
Tony.
here comes
Tony,
Tony
can
to
you,
ruin everything for everyone.
Are we good? It does sound like Dave Scott towards the end. Oh God.
That's funny.
No
All right,
comment.
Tones, Malones. Take it away.
Here we go. So
How
the
unhappy pants.
skepticisms.
What is happening?
Oh shit. Jamie had to leave. Okay, actually, I
Why
did
did-
think Enzo at first. At first, I thought Enzo, and I was like, no, that's what's his face. Okay, so
So the skepticism is either it's a unknown ape, not real,
a Yeti.
misidentification of animals that are already there. And of course, we have balloons and seagulls because we all love Big West.
What? What is happening?
I don't know. I missed it.
Yeah, I was kind of just being a dick.
Oh, to
earlier.
Mick West.
Yeah,
Dicking around Mick West.
yeah. So we have balloon apes and seagull apes. So let's get into the real stuff next
Burge.
how much I hate this fucking slide.
Oh, I hate that too. Why is there a Jerry? Can we stop putting Jerry's? I'm Batman.
Nope.
That's cute.
Nope.
There's no reason to have a Jerry. No one
Nope.
even likes him.
All right, Tony, tell us about what kind of bears are misidentified for this creature.
Okay, so from left to right, we have the blue bear.
No. Baby beluga.
So this is the Tibetan blue bear. It's a cunt. I hate all bears. And they come in somewhere around 450 to 500 pounds. They're pretty big. Pretty big bears. The Gobi bear is sometimes classified as being in the same subspecies as the Tibetan blue bear. So this is actually a what do you call the bear? What do you call the animals that are not going to live past?
Endangered.
That's the word.
Bare
Good.
necessities segment. I love that.
Good. Just so glad they're not gonna make it.
I don't know why. I thought you loved bears.
I'm never gonna ask Tony to talk about bears again.
Don't.
Have
He
you been
loves
charged by a
bears.
bear?
I hate bears. I hate
Really?
them so fucking much. Everybody who has seen this show knows I hate bears.
All right.
So we have
now tell me about the Batman bear.
No, well, first we have to talk about the bear in the middle.
All right.
That's a sexy bear.
So that is the Himalayan brown bear, which is a grizzly bear, which I hate. So the Himalayan grizzly bear, what's actually interesting is they only get to be about somewhere around 7 feet tall. They're not as big as other grizzly bears. They're kind of midget grizzly bears, but they will still eat you while you're alive. So they should absolutely be executed on sight. I hate bears. I hate bears. I would rather go into
It looks like
an
you love them.
enclosure with a tiger than a bear. Every single day of the week. I hate bears. Because the tiger will kill you before it starts to eat you. The bear will just go, oh, I don't care. Num, 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 num. Oh, you're alive? Num, 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 num. Oh, that's cool. Num, 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 num. Fuck bears. And then we have Jerry here because I hate Bree. And then we have a sun bear. So that's Batman over here. This
Why
is
do they call it a sun bear? It's black.
I don't know why they call it that.
Because
Why
it
do they call
lays in the sun to tan itself.
Oh, it's tanning.
That's why it's a darker color.
Yeah. But
got
we
melanin.
have the sun bear, which for whatever reason has a Batman logo on its chest. And funny, these bears are only about 6 feet tall. They're not very big. They're called the Asiatic black bear. Very small compared to the horrible terrors of North America. I hate bears. Stop. Stop
Okay.
making me talk
All
about
right,
fucking
all right,
bears.
all right, all right.
All right. Tony
Maybe-
hates bears. It might be a bear, but it's probably not. It's probably a fact.
I
Time to
thought
fact or
that
sci-fi.
Tommy likes it.
I don't like it.
I had no idea. Okay.
Sci-fi. All right, I'll go first. So I'm going to middle bitch this one. I think that we have a combination of a misidentified creature from the area and native lore.
A bear?
And it might be a bear. Who knows? I mean, I know Tony doesn't like him, but it's possible. So I don't really know which side it's coming from because I feel like it could be both. Like this goes back really deep into the native lore, so it makes me want to believe it. But I also believe that maybe more newer recent sightings could possibly just be a species in that area that maybe was misidentified and quite frankly isn't around anymore. So I'm going to have to middle bitch this one myself.
I'm going last.
Okay, Tone?
Tony.
I think it's real.
Okay.
Yeah. Facts.
So I'm gonna fact this, and as much as I hate bears, when you look at the evidence and you see like the outlines of the toes, they don't match the outlines of the toes of my most hated enemy, which is why I can look at that and go, well, that's not a bear print, that's not a cougar print, that's not a wolf print, that is something entirely different. So I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I think
Wow.
the Yeti exists.
Wow. All right, baby.
I don't fucking care. I'm gonna go hard. I guess a hard middle bitch on this one. I could give you the typical spiel, but I'll spare you that. Again, it's just that whole like, well, if the natives believe it, then it's
Same.
real. But like, I don't know. Like, I think, like I was saying earlier, like if I say I believe in Bigfoot, when I go hard in the paint. So I'm gonna say middle bitch, but if it is real, it is an ethereal, spiritual Nephilim creature from the ancient world.
All right, Bree.
The Shambhala.
Shambhala.
All right, BB.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it like a 7.53. I guess that's a
Wow,
fact.
that's very specific.
Yeah, that's what feels right to me. Yes, misidentified. However, the bears that were the options in that region, absolutely not. I believe the natives. I stick with the Buddhists. That's how I roll.
Do you
believe in bears?
Can I convince you to suck my tongue?
Okay,
The reaction to that could have gone one of two ways.
You didn't hear about that? You don't know
ways.
about that?
What?
The Dalai Lama was recently caught on camera asking
Who would have thought?
It's funny because I heard you saying it's a dementia thing, and then I've seen other people argue like this is not a dementia thing.
I think it's dementia.
Then I've heard like that's how everyone greets each other. I'm like, I don't think
I don't know
that's
about
true
that.
either.
I want to walk around.
I mean-
contact in the desert, going.
And asking people to suck my
Suck
tongue.
my
yeah.
tongue.
My tongue.
You should
Sorry,
wear flowing
I'm
robes.
A Buddhist.
Do you
Sorry,
guys
I'm a
have
Buddhist.
any? Do you guys have any final thoughts for the episode, my loves?
I think that it would be a shame if this thing weren't true. There's enough background. There's even more than we went into. I think
Jamie's
I believe it
vomiting
over
right
all of
now.
them.
Honestly.
All right.
That's
Well,
all I'll say.
I just dropped a new episode of my podcast, Not For Everyone podcast. It is literally not for everyone, highly offensive, and please consider yourself warned. On this one, it's quite the shit show. If it would be your first time listening to my show, I would recommend maybe going back to some earlier episodes, because not for everyone. The new episode is just a total too many cooks situation with everyone with 3 hot mics in the 12 by 12 foot room and people just yelling a lot. It's not a great representation of Dr. Strangelove is what we covered on that one, which is a Stanley Kubrick movie about it's a Cold War satire, but we talk about all kinds of other things on the Not For Everyone podcast.
Kubrick is
Love it.
haunting me. I watched A Clockwork Orange twice last week.
Oh, shit.
You're
Why?
psychotic.
Good for you.
Why? I don't know.
Follow
I
us.
watched. Hey, wait. Can I just say something real quick?
Go for it. Absolutely.
I just want to recommend. Since I didn't recommend a movie, this has nothing to do with the Yeti. But I finally watched the new Dune, and it fucking rules.
Bree is about that.
I watched it like twice in a row. And it's like 3 hours long.
Super fucking.
And then I watched the David Lynch one, and that movie rules too. But the new one's awesome.
I wish I could give you a number for how many times I've watched Dune.
I like
like
totally
not.
get it now.
It's like in the
I've never read the
thousands.
books. I've never understood like the
It's
fandom behind it, but now
like
I get it. I'm
pretty
like, this movie's
hard.
awesome. I
It's
want to
like
read the books and shit.
Pretty hard, and I have
Maybe we'll
it,
do
so,
an
like,
episode
every
talking
once
about
in a
it.
while, I'm like,
Yeah, the books are
"Fuck it, I
super
put it
dense,
on."
huh?
It's
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
the new
guys.
Dune is
Well,
Oh,
fucking
that's a-
awesome.
New Dune is fire.
nerd alert. I
I
want
really
you
know,
all
like,
to follow us on all of the socials. Bree, what's yours?
At Matt Spree on Twitter. You can also find me on like the Instagram, I think. About the
Nice.
same thing. I'm not
Baby,
good
what about
I'm
you?
not good though. I forget. I haven't.
At
don't
Pinball
either.
Bobby on Instagram and Twitter. Those are my public ones.
Ooh, what about you, Tone?
Don't follow me. I will piss you off.
www.boomerslovebears.com.
Yeah,
Mm.
boomerslovebears.com.
Hashtag gay for
Bitch.
Gates.
Okay.
All right,
first
we
of
love you
all,
guys, and we'll see you guys on Thursday for Uninformed. We love you, and deuces.
Have a great evening.
it-